Hi, stand back. This is Miss Shep, and I am here to talk to you a little bit about MTSS and SST, the process for referral, and the paperwork that goes along with it. The MTSS team felt that it was really important to create this presentation and send out this information to you all to hopefully shed some light on the referral process as well as answer some questions. So first, let me just start with a little bit of an overview. The purpose of SST is to provide support and interventions for students struggling in the classroom. SST is to be utilized only after the teacher has exhausted strategies to meet the needs of the student, conferred with other colleagues for assistance, and worked closely with the parent in doing so. As you'll see on your screen, here is a little overview of the process, but I'm going to speak in a little more detail about each of these. So first, a teacher notices an area of concern in a student. So notices that a child may need a little extra help or a little extra support in a certain area. They will respond to this by using Tier 1 classroom interventions to try to address that area of concern. These interventions need to be done for 4 weeks, and they need to be documented and data needs to be collected. If after that 4 weeks you notice that there's an improvement in the area of concern, that is awesome. Make sure that you keep doing what you're doing because it's working and the student is improving. However, if there's no improvement, then a teacher will take that concern to their grade level or team PLC for consultation. The team will discuss and make additional suggestions for classroom interventions. Here, the teacher will take those suggestions and do the new interventions for another 4 weeks. And these interventions also need to be documented and data needs to be collected. Again, if there's an improvement, great, keep doing what you're doing. But if you do not see any improvement after that second set of interventions, this is where a teacher will refer the student to MTSS by completing a blue referral folder, which your school counselor has. So myself or Ms. Olk, both of us have the blue referral folders. You can come to whichever one of us is your school counselor, and we'll be happy to give you one of those. I would suggest getting that blue folder from your counselor before the 8 weeks has passed, simply because there are some documents within that are going to be great places for you to data track and be able to explain the interventions that you've been doing in your classroom for those first 4 weeks and second 4 weeks. And so from that point on, what will happen is MTSS will take that referral. They will meet and give additional suggestions for research-based interventions that can be done within your classroom. And after that, there will be a review, and then a decision will be made to either graduate the student from MTSS, create a 504 plan, or to refer to the IEP team. And so when we're talking about the blue folder needed for referral, there is going to be some paperwork that goes along with it. There is a checklist on each of those folders. Let me pull that up so that you can see what it looks like. There's a checklist that looks like this on every one of those blue folders. And referring teachers are responsible for those top 4 steps there before you get to that line all the way across the paper. And so step 1 is to simply obtain the folder from the counselor. So if you're seeing this checklist, then you've done step 1 already. Next, your next step is to complete 3 different forms. Those are the focus of concern, academic background, and intervention strategies plan. Step 3 is to send home the parent notification form, and step 4 is to take this completed folder and put it in the mailbox of your student school counselor. From there, we will take over and we can do the rest of the steps, but those first 4 are what the referring teacher is responsible for. So let's walk through each of these forms that was mentioned in step 2. And so the first one is the focus of concern form. It'll look like this. And so the top part is just general student information. So things like their name, date of birth, age, all of those things. So fill that part out. This next part here is information about the contact that you've had with parents. And so, like I said earlier, one thing is that the hope is that you've worked alongside with parents along the way to try to address the concern that you're seeing. So here's where you would document that, the times that you've talked to the parents, expressed your concern, and what their response to that concern was. So the 2 contacts you've had with parents there. And if you come down here, this is where you check off the area of concern that you and your team have with this student. And then down here is just a little bit of a summary with the student's strengths and the concerns that you're seeing. All right, so that is the focus of concern, which is the first form. And then next we'll go to the academic background form that looks like this. And so here is where teachers will gather information about the background of the student. This can be done through information on PowerSchool, information in their CUME folder. There's multiple different places that you can gather this information. So make sure that you're looking through it, and it helps us get a look at what has happened in the past with this student. Give us a picture of, what their previous academic experiences were, so that we can best move forward and best make suggestions for the student. So you'll fill all of this out, history, if the student was in ELL or ESL here, and then we go down here and it's asking for EOG scores. Again, these are things that you can find in PowerSchool or the student's CUME folder. Of course, we don't have to worry about this high school part right here. And then there are times when there are some testing results that are in a student's CUME folder. If those exist, then you can document that here on this if there are available screening results that are there. And then after this academic background form, the next one is the intervention strategies plan. And so this one here is where you document those interventions that you've been doing in your classroom in that first 4 weeks, as well as that second 4 weeks after you've consulted with your team. So here it gives you a place to really kind of describe the intervention you're doing and some details about it and how you're going to measure and document whether the student has improved in those areas. There's also a place for a performance goal, as well as what you saw after the intervention. So do that again for the first and for another intervention you did once you consulted with your team. So you'll fill all of that out. And this is that part I was talking about earlier where there is a spot for you to do all your data collection. So if you get this blue folder from us before those 8 weeks are up, you can use these sheets to go ahead and start collecting data. So you can put on here when you used what intervention and exactly what happened and what the results were from that. So there are two 4-week sheets on here. Again, so 4 weeks being that time that you're doing those tier 1 interventions in your classroom, and the second 4 weeks being once you've taken it to the team and gotten consultation from them. And then the last form are these. One moment. All right, sorry about that interruption. So this last form here is the parent notification form. And so what it is that if students have gone through all 8 weeks of those interventions and they've not improved on the area of concern, the student will officially be referred to MTSS and the parent needs to be notified. This form is the way we do that. And so you can just fill this out on here, kind of what the difficulty you're seeing is. Hopefully you've had this conversation with the parent, but this gives you another spot to explain that. And then it kind of explains that we're going to be doing some hearing and vision testing on the student. And there gives a little information about telephone numbers and things that they can use if they have a concern. I will say that please pay attention to whether the student's parents prefer communication in English or Spanish. There's a copy of both within the folder, so you can use whichever one fits with your student's needs. And then so you will fill this out, make a copy of it, mail off the original, and leave the copy in that blue folder. And then after that, all you do is you take the completed blue folder after you have all of that, and you will put the completed blue folder in the mailbox of your student's counselor. So either my mailbox or Ms. Olk's mailbox, or you can bring it to our office, whichever way works best for you, and we will take it from there. And so once we do all of that, the school counselor will coordinate a vision and hearing screening test for the student, and they will add the student to the MTSS meeting agenda. School counselor will notify the team of who needs to be present at the meeting so that we can gather more information about the student. You'll be able to tell us what you've seen, what you've done, and we'll also invite the parents to the MTSS meeting. And then the MTSS team will do an observation of the student, meet to come up with additional interventions, and follow up to evaluate the effectiveness of those interventions. I know that this process is long and can be kind of tedious. However, it is all for the support and success of students. I tried to cover as much information here as possible, but I'm sure that there are things that I missed and questions that may still exist about the paperwork and the process. So please do not hesitate to reach out and ask. Thank you so much for your time.